Good morning, good morning. Actually, it doesn't matter what time of day it is, wherever you are, but I'm doing this in the morning here. Today, we are going to talk about something that's probably one of the earliest questions anyone's going to ask anyone in Rise of Kingdoms, and that's which commanders to use at the beginning of the game. Before we get into that, I'd like to ask you and remind you that if you do enjoy the content, if you've been coming back and you're learning stuff and you think there's some good stuff you're learning here, give my channel a subscribe and give the videos a like. It helps so much. It shows me that people enjoy the stuff, and to me that's what it's all about. So yeah, if you it doesn't take too much time on your hands. If you like a video, it means nothing to you. If you subscribe to my channel, that's awesome. That means you're going to see the content as it comes out, and I'm going to keep producing stuff, especially for the early game right now, because I feel like there's a lot of content for a lot of end game stuff and a lot of new material, but some of the older stuff is a little outdated, and sometimes a fresh take on some stuff is very helpful. So, yes, today we are going to talk about commanders and which commanders are important, which ones, because you obviously don't have time to invest in every single commander. You kind of got to, at the beginning, pick and choose which to upgrade first and spend some XP tomes on, spend your sculptures on, your starlights on, and that's always a problem. So if you've been following along with my series and you've done everything I've said so far, you're going to have Boudica. Um, as you can see on the side here, I have Boudica doing something right now. She's awesome. But before we get into that, there are three types of commanders I'd like to talk about, and there's obviously different variants of these types, but primarily there are three types of commanders. You have your gathering commanders, which you're going to be using exclusively for gathering materials on the map. Those would be your Centurions, your Matildas, your Joans, your Constants, your Gaius Marius, your Sarkas, and there are some legendary ones. There's Cleopatra, there's Ishida, which I only got 3 legendaries on this account, and they all turned out to be gathering commanders. But that's okay. Gathering commanders are important. In fact, if you get all the gathering commanders, that means every time if you send 5 marches out to gather, that means you're going to even get more stuff, which is great because there are, I believe, 9 in the game. So gathering commanders are the first one. Primarily, all the gathering have their best skill as at number 2. If you recall from my previous videos, we talked extensively on maxing out the first skill before getting into the second skill. With gathering commanders, it's actually different, but that is the only situation it's different. You actually want to focus on trying to get the second skill. And it's a bit of luck. It's a bit of RNG. My Sarka is actually okay. So actually, I started leveling up Sarka at when she was 2 stars, and all the RNG went into the first skill, but that's okay. I haven't maxed her up anymore. So yeah, the first thing is the Gathering Commanders, and Gathering Commanders have 2 level called caps. Level 27 is a pretty powerful cap. It means that you get access to all of the gathering abilities, plus you get to max out this node right here, which means that every time you gather resources, you get 6% more resources. And that's more resources good. So 27 is what's called a soft cap. So get your gathering commanders at least however many marches you have to level 27 and use them as your primary commander. Um, Primary commanders are the only ones that get to use the talents. So you only need, for me, I would only need 3 at level 27. I only have 2 right. Actually, no, I have 3. I have Centurion. So I have 3, and those are the ones I'm going to be using as my main commanders in my gathering marches. Yeah. So the second group of commanders, which are very important, especially super early, because what you're doing right now is you're spending a whole lot of time fighting barbarians, gathering on the map, and you're not doing too much fighting, although there is, depending on the kingdom you're in. And those are your peacekeeping commanders. So that's the second group, and there are 3 really good epic. There's actually 4, but the 4th one was a limited edition. I don't know even if it's in the game anymore. Yeah, Dio-chan. I don't believe you can get her sculptures anymore. It's just during the event. She's pretty good, so she's the 4th. Actually, Kira's 2, but that's a little later. But in the early stages, you're going to focus on 3 peacekeeping commanders. Boudica, which is from the Britain tech that we started. So we're going to have her pretty strong. If you notice here, I already have 5 in the first skill. pretty awesome. As soon as you get them to level 20 with 3 stars, that means you can also use these commanders to bring a secondary commander, which is kind of why I did that with Belly, even though I didn't perfect his first skill. I got him to 3 stars so I could bring a second commander and I could use him to level up that second commander. So these commanders are very important because barbarians are so important. And peacekeeping is the only tech tree that helps well, versatility as well, but peacekeeping is the only tech tree that allows you to get extra resources every time you kill a barbarian. Versatility also has this insight buff, but you're better off not using versatility as a peacekeeping commander unless you really need to, which you can, which would be a Lancelot, or I don't know if there's any other blues. There's actually no other blues that are peace or versatility. So yeah, you'd use Boudica, Belisarius, and the king of barbarians himself, the roaring barbarian, Lohars, once you unlock him through those Lohar events that we've been doing. I've got a couple. I haven't done actually any rally. I did 1 or 2 rallies. And as soon as you get this guy, he's the best barbarian killer in the game and the worst fighter at anything else. So he's pretty much only good at barbarians. He can kill with any kind. Everyone still uses him on their max accounts, primarily because every time you finish a pack off, your troops get healed quite a bit. 2,000 healing every time you finish a pack off, plus his main ability heals. So your barbarian fighting troops stay on the field a very, very long time. So the 3 to focus on, I'll focus on 1 or 2 at a time. But if you start with Boudica and you don't have Mark or Belisarius or Lohars or Diochan, you can use Markswoman. She's not as good, but she still does have the peacekeeping talents if you will to spec into that. So you can use her as a third alternative. She's not going to be as good, but she's better than using other commanders because she reduces the amount of AP you use every time you fight a barbarian, which is just value. As soon as you do something cheaper than standard, then you're getting more out of it. If I were to use, I don't know, my Lancelot right now to hunt a barbarian, he would cost 50 AP, whereas this costs 40 AP, plus 15 chests every time I kill a barbarian. So then that adds up quite quickly. You get extra barbarians, that means you get extra stuff. Yeah. These commanders are not necessarily good at anything else. Boudica and Belisarius can be good at other stuff, but they wouldn't be put in the primary role. They would be put in a secondary role, which is okay. That means you would just, for Belisarius, you could put him behind another cavalry commander like Baibars, or you could put him behind Minamoto if you have Minamoto. Or you could put him behind, which I would advise, Pelagius, who is the next top commander we're going to talk about. Pelagius, we're going to talk about the next group, which is all your fighting commanders. Fighting commanders, you're not going to have too many of them early on. You're not going to have too many legendaries unless you're a big spender and you get Hannibal and Minamoto. Both Hannibal and Minamoto are awesome fighters, especially super early, but they do cost in real money, and you will need to spend to use them. Whether or not it's worth spending is how much your budget is. Minamoto is going to be viable for a very long time. He's not necessarily the best cavalry commander, but he will be used in certain marches later on in the game. So he's going to have a utility if you max him now for the entirety of your Rise of Kingdoms gaming pleasures. And he's a fast commander. He can barbarian hunt. I wouldn't advise using him as a barbarian hunt event. Exactly, you can. You can talent him into peacekeeping as well. Hannibal Barca, you cannot. Hannibal Barca is a city attacker, conquering skills, meant to attack cities. He's pretty expensive to get because you have to be VIP 14 or 15 to fully max him out, and that's expensive in itself. But if you do have these commanders, obviously they're going to be your best fighting commanders early game. Behind that, by far the next commander you want to level up is Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu is the strongest epic commander in the game, without question. He does loads of damage with his ability. He does a fan that does 450 plus 150 So 600 damage until you expertise it, in which in fact it's actually 1,000 damage up to 5 targets. And he gains rage. Rage means you can use your skill again. So he can hit essentially 5,000 damage if he hits 5 people with that fan. And no other epic commander can do that much damage. Plus he has a garrison ability, so he can be defense, which is super valuable. And in fact, later on in the game, for a low spending player, he's still going to be useful when people have legendary commanders because of how powerful he is. He has infantry bonuses, health and damage taken, so he's tanky, and he increases skill damage done. So 20% on top of the 1,000 damage is 1,200 damage. So he does tons and tons of damage. He's super useful. He's 100% the first commander that you'll need to fight with. He is awesome. The second and kind of the first is Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc is a support commander and a gathering commander. The only reason you could maybe put her ahead of Sun Tzu, she's not a better fighter, but she can gather as well. So she has this gathering skill where she gets 25% gathering speed for all resources. That's a pretty powerful buff, a pretty awesome buff, because that's the highest buff you can get for just all resources. You have the legendary commanders, which provide buffs as well, but they're specific to certain materials. So this one, you get 30% for food, but everything else is 20. And there's no gold gathering speed. Siandek, same thing, 30% and 20% for everything else. So Joan has the straight for everything, blanket coverage, 25%, the highest in the game. This one is 30 and then 20 for everything else. So, and then I guess the other epic commander for gathering is Matilda, and Matilda is 25, 20, 20. So Joan's stronger than all that. So if you want to max Joan first, you can, but she's not stronger than Sun Tzu for fighting. What she does great though is she's a support hero. So her rage ability uses an AoE buff to empower everyone around her for 30% basically of all stats, 30% for infantry health, 30% defense for cavalry, and 30% attack for archers. So it's 30% of value for whatever units, and it does increase normal damage and heals a bit. Also restores a bit of rage in an AoE. So it's awesome. It's awesome, and they get 200 rage because it's 4 seconds instead of 2 seconds. So it's 400 rage instead of 80 rage, which is expertise. So she's an awesome support commander. You can level her as a gatherer, which I do, and then use her as a secondary commander to be that awesome support commander. She is the second one I'm probably going to, well, it depends what I'm going to roll, but I'm going to be the second leveling up Joan of Arc. Third one, Pelagius. Pelagius is pretty awesome too. He's just not on the same level as Sun Tzu. He does a fair bit of damage, so it does actually 300, and then another 300 per second, so another 600 damage, so 900 damage, plus restores rage, so he attacks fast. Every time you gain rage, that means the next attack's coming sooner, and you can restore even more rage, so that stacks up quickly. The biggest thing that Pelagius has is he's got tons of raw stats to cavalry units. So your cavalry units are going to be super, super tanky if Pelagius is your primary commander. You can level him as a skill in cavalry. I wouldn't do garrison. Most people don't do garrison as cavalry. And if that's the case, then you can look up a guide on that. But primarily, he's going to be either open fielding or rally leader, so you're going to want to have his skills maxed and points into cavalry. And if you want to look, you can look up some guides online. I might do a little bit more on to how to build your heroes. The primarily level up the first skill first, and you don't have to worry too much about talents for right now. The one thing you just got to focus on is making sure this first skill is maxed. And if the first skill is maxed, then you can move on to the rest. All your epic commanders, you can make mistakes on epic commanders. It won't kill you. It won't hurt your gameplay in the end, because eventually all your epics will be maxed. My account that I have had for about 250 days. All my epics are max except for Kira, who's a bit trickier to max. And I made some mistakes on some of them, and I fixed them just because you get so many epic sculptures eventually. But focus on the 3 Peacekeepers if you can. Boudica, Belisarius, and Lohar for your Barbarian hunting for Lohar. Don't dump sculptures into these guys yet, only use the ones you get. The first one you're going to dump sculptures into is going to be Sun Tzu and Joan. Both are the best. They're the best. And then Pelagius should be your third to dump all your universal sculptures into. And universal sculptures, if you're not aware, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. You get universal sculptures randomly right here. So I could add 6 sculptures of the universal sculptures to Scipio here and get another skill point, but I don't think Scipio's worth using these yet. I'm going to wait for Sun Tzu or Joan. And then these guys, I've just been using my sculptures I get from keys and what have you. So yeah, to summarize, again, any epic commander or legendary commander, wait until your first skill is max before going to 2 stars. It'll save you a lot of hassle down the road. It might seem frustrating right now, but it'll save you tons and tons and tons of time down the road. Work on 1 commander at a time. If you get Joan of Arc super early, you can do Joan of Arc first, but I would strongly recommend Sun Tzu first. He is the best commander for epics. He will be used for a long time. He will be the one you want to put all your skill points in, all your experience tomes, all your starlight sculptures, everything. He'll be your primary. He's awesome. And then you can get Lohar sculptures from just doing the Lohar event, and with regarding the items for that. And same with your peacekeeping commanders. And then your gathering commanders, try and get that second skill maxed, and then try and get at least 3 or 4 to level 27 or level 37. Level 37 is just increases your gathering speed, because that means you can max out this skill right here, which gets you 25%, 5% per level, so 25% more gathering speed. So yeah, gathering commanders to level 27 or level 37. Work on your peacekeeping commanders first so that you can use the peacekeeping commanders to farm barbs and level up some other commanders with their secondary troop slot, and then Sun Tzu or Joan for your epics. And do not, I'll say this again, do not, if this was a actual legendary, do not level them up past level 10 on 1 star before you max their first skill. Because it is so expensive to level up these legendary commanders without finishing their first skill first. Because their first skill, in every single case, in every single commander right here, without doubt, their first skill is the most important skill. It goes from 500 damage to 1,000 damage, which scales with the amount of troops you have. So it does tons of damage, and then you're going to be putting troops somewhere else, or experience points, skill points somewhere else, and it gets more expensive, and you're not going to want to use those commanders later on. So it's a little bit of pain for right now, but save those starlight sculptures. Wait till you max that first skill before you level any legendary commander, and it'll save you tons of headaches down the road. You can mess up talents. You can mess up which commanders you think you want to do first. That's not as big of a deal as skipping that first skill point. Anyways, thank you for watching my video on commanders. Please, if you have any comments or suggestions, leave them in the comments or message me. But I'm getting some good feedback. I've got some guys really liking these guides. I hope the beginner guides are helping. I know there's a lot of going on. Like even my screen right now, I got red numbers everywhere, and everyone's been where you're at starting out. Don't stress it. Do some research. Hope my guides help. I know I talk a lot, and I guess that's necessary, but keep watching, keep learning, have some fun. The game is supposed to be fun. But the more you know, the stronger you're going to be, and the more prepared you're going to be, and you're going to have more fun because you won't be getting bullied as much by other people, which it happens in the game. The stronger players will pick on the weaker players, and that's the nature of it. So make sure you do your research. If you haven't yet, check out my other videos. I try to break it down. I'm trying to break it down as linearly as possible so that we progress together. Um, and the first thing you got to worry about is your commanders, making sure you don't level up that first skill, or don't Starlight Sculpture up, rank up your commanders until you max out that first skill. And that's the easiest way to feel like you have to quit your account. In all honesty, if you screw that up, then it feels bad, especially on legendary and epic commanders. Anyways, thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next videos. Bye.